This is the His and Her Money Show, where we talk about managing money, marriage, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, America's #1 money couple, Talaat and Tai McNeely.
Welcome back to another edition of the His and Her Money Show, brought to you by Policy Genius, where you can find a free 5-minute assessment tool to help you figure out all of your assurance needs. Just head over to hisandhermoney.com/policygenius. Welcome back to another edition of the His and Her Money Show, brought to you by Policy Genius. Head over to Policy Genius, where you can find a free tool to help you analyze whether or not you have the proper insurance to meet your needs. Just head over to hisandhermoney.com/policygenius. Hey guys, we're so glad that you're back with us for another great episode. And this is our favorite, good old debt-free stories. Today we're going to be talking with Andrew and Veronica from secondhandmillionaires.com. They have paid off an immense amount of debt, and they're going to share the details with you guys.
Oh my gosh, they have paid off, $170,000 so far in the last 3 years. That is remarkable.
That is huge.
Huge.
Humongous.
And they are known for shopping secondhand stores, estate sales, and turning around and making a profit. So we have to hear what they have to say.
Well, let's not delay it any further. Let's get Andrew and Veronica on the line. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Veronica.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
We're excited to have you guys on the show today because you all have quite the debt-free story, and we know our audience is going to be super motivated to follow in your footsteps after hearing your guys' journey. But before we get into the details of your story, can you take a moment to introduce yourselves to our audience and let them know what you're all about?
Hi, I'm Veronica Kaslewicz. I'm 28 years old. I'm a pharmacist.
And my name is Andrew Kaslewicz, 29 years old, and I'm working as a nurse currently.
And we run the blog secondhandmillionaires.com. We discuss all things finance, including how we used garage sales and estate sales to flip other people's secondhand items for a profit, and how we invest those profits and live frugally, and how we've, to this date, paid off over $170,000 in debt in the last 3 years of our marriage.
Whoa, wait a minute. How much? Say that again. How much debt have you guys paid off?
$170,000.
Wow, that's big time. I mean, let's talk about it. So you're saying $170,000 paid off in the last 3 years of your marriage?
3 years we've paid off $170,000, but we're still about $64,000 in debt with our mortgage. And then we always consider ourselves in debt regardless of whether we owe someone else or we owe ourselves. We don't actually think that we're going to ever be out of debt until we're financially independent.
So let's break it down a little bit further when it comes to the debt. How did you all first come to being in debt, and what type of debt was it that you all were facing?
Most of that was my fault. I went to five and a half years of college for my nursing degree. I went to a couple expensive schools, Penn State, Duquesne, and my debt consisted probably close to about $80,000. And hers was, I think, about
$16,500 in student loan debt when it was all said and done. We also had $15,000 for our wedding,
$6,000 for a car, $5,000 in credit card debt, and that's what I can think of. And then our mortgage, half of our mortgage.
I mean, so what's the big deal? Everybody's got student loans, credit card debt, wedding debt. You're living the American dream, basically. I mean, but what was it? Seriously, what was it that kind of woke you guys up to say, you know what, this is not the way we want to live, and we need to get out of debt once and for all?
I always hated debt. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always obsessed with money. When I was 8, 9 years old, I had a savings account, and I would keep all my birthday money. I'd keep all my communion money. And I think around that time, the interest rates must have been 5 or 6%, because I was watching my bank statements roll in every month, and I'd see $5 or $6 that I didn't do any work for, and it was adding to my bank account. And I was really excited to see that. And then one month, I didn't get a bank statement, and I didn't know what happened. I asked my parents, and they said, oh, maybe the bank forgot about you. And I said, we'll check next month. And so I checked next month, and they didn't send anything. And so I said to my mom, I said, we got to go down to the bank and check. And they said to me, we had to take your money to pay on our mortgage because we were behind on the mortgage. And so at that point in time, my mindset changed from saving to saving isn't safe. And I kind of forgot all about money up until probably my junior year in college. And then I started to look around and say, I'm heavily in debt. I don't want to live like this. And I kind of woke back to, kind of the mindset I had when I was 9.
So things had to change. You had to think differently. So talk about the mindset paradigm shift that had to take place within you all in order for you all to accomplish such a big goal of paying off this massive amount of debt.
The mindset for me was we are poor. Even though after a while we weren't, but while we were students, we were definitely living the student life, hardly any money and just, working these student part-time jobs in between going to class. But it was really hard for me to get in that mindset because when I graduated pharmacy school, I saw all of my peers that I went to school with being able to finally purchase the things that we've been looking forward to for years. When you graduate from pharmacy school, you see a huge jump in your paycheck once you're licensed. And all of the kids around me were buying the hockey season tickets that I so desperately wanted to see the Pittsburgh Penguins. Those are like $1,000 a month or more for season tickets. New cars, nice new houses. Everyone was like getting on with their lives and really making these big ticket purchases. And that was a very hard mindset to stay in, but just continuously reminding ourselves that we are poor and not to compare ourselves to other people was the mindset. They chose to spend their money on different things, and we decided that we were spending our money to buy our life back instead of to buy things. And I think when you buy your time back before you buy your tangible goods, over time you come out with more life.
You come out ahead, definitely.
Yes.
And we also treat it like an emergency. It was something not to be messed around with. But like you said, we like to buy our life back is the way we kind of think of it. But on the outside, from looking outside, it looks like everyone else is moving along with their lives and we're kind of stuck. We were living in an apartment and $500 a month paying rent to my grandma, and other people were buying their houses, starting to have kids, buying nice cars, and we really looked like we were stuck in first gear.
Wow. I mean, I'm really sitting here dwelling on that statement that you just made because it was so powerful and so impactful. You said that you all made a decision that you all were going to buy your life back. And I just think that just speaks to how important our thoughts are in this process. You made a conscious choice. You didn't have to make this decision. You all could have just kept it on cruise control and kept on doing what you were doing, but you all together jointly made a decision to say, this is not the life we want, and we're going to do something about it. Man, I hope everybody was listening to that statement because that is so powerful. That's how you get started, is by making the decision that you're going to make a change, and you're going to make that change now. So let's get into this because you all came together, made this decision. Now let's talk about the practical side of things. What did you all actually do? What type of lifestyle adjustments did you all make in order to pay off $170,000 worth of debt? What did you all do to make this happen?
Well, I think we tried a little too much too soon. I think I probably got the idea to save 50% of my income from, a financial blog at the time. Probably Mr. Money Mustache is the one that comes to my mind. And I convinced her, hey, let's save 50% of our income. And she was working 20 hours a week through pharmacy school. And she just said, okay, that sounds good. And I explained everything to her. I don't think it was that simple, but, I explained everything to her of what the goals were and why I thought it was important. But what I didn't know was, she was putting away 50% of her income into savings, but on the back end, she was using her credit card to kind of fund the difference. And it wasn't until we had a real sit down and talked over all of our finances that I realized she had a few $1,000s in credit card debt. And I was, where'd this come from? I thought we were doing really good. And she said, well, you made me save half of my income. And so that was we started, I think, a little bit too fast. But after that, I think we really kind of figured it out.
So the strategies we mostly used were paying ourselves first.
Yeah.
And you can explain that.
That's a huge one. And if you don't know what that is, that basically means you have to be your most powerful debt collector. You have to come after yourself the hardest, I guess. You know, you have a mortgage, you have a car payment, you have everything else, but ultimately you want to work for yourself. You want to work for you. You want to pay yourself first. I talk to a lot of people at work and they seem to just be on the treadmill and they pay everything else. They buy clothes, they buy jewelry, they buy food. They're paying everybody else their income. And I say, well, how much did you save 2 months, 3 months ago, 4 months last year? And they say nothing. I said, well, then you didn't pay yourself anything. You're working for everyone else. You're not working for yourself. So that's a mindset you want to get yourself into, is you want to work for yourself and pay yourself. You are the most important person.
Yeah, we also cut out unnecessary expenses. This was kind of hard because I liked, my nice gym membership and, my iPhone and all that stuff. And he convinced me, switch off the iPhone plan, get a less expensive phone. He went without a cell phone for years. And that drove me crazy, him not having a cell phone.
I didn't have a cell phone for 3 years.
Wow. Talk about determination and dedication.
And I mean, we're only talking $30 a month, but every dollar counts. I mean, if that's your goal, that has to be your goal, and you have to be willing to make sacrifices. And I would make phone calls from work. I would make phone calls from the one payphone that I knew still existed. I would make phone calls from different restaurants, wherever I could if I needed to. It actually made me really responsible because I had to plan things out ahead because I knew, I wouldn't have communication with anybody for a while.
It was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. Well, I bought a junker car. I bought it from a guy who had a couple accidents and DUIs and things. So he sold it to me for very cheap, but it came with all the dents and cigarette burns. And I took out all the unnecessary things in my car, the back seat, the glove box, everything I could think of, the spare tire, just to save money on gas, just so I could reduce the weight of the car. I don't really think that worked at all, but it was just kind of, I'm going to put myself as low as I can go here, and I'm going to hyper mild the best I can. We also cut cable, too. We got rid of cable. That was hard for you, right?
It was hard for me because I went from never having cable growing up because my parents never wanted us to watch TV that much. And then once I became an adult, I was like, yeah, I can have cable now. This is awesome. The shows are so cool. And then, a year or less than a year later, he's like, let's get rid of cable. And so I basically give up all our luxuries.
And we just had a TV just for watching movies, and that's about it. And we didn't purchase any new clothing or anything like that. We would shop at secondhand stores. We would shop at Goodwill or any thrift stores for our clothes and shoes and things like that.
And now I know another strategy or method or way that you all were able to get out of debt so soon was, and this is where the name of your website comes from, Secondhand Millionaires. You all spent some time in these secondhand stores and you figured out how to turn some profits by visiting these secondhand stores, correct?
That was a great way for us to save with the little money that we did have left over. My uncle, he was an antique dealer for a good portion of his life, and we kind of had a discussion about precious metals, gold and silver, and I think this was probably around 2007, 2008, where the financial collapse and everything like that, and precious metals were really in the forefront of everybody's mind. So it got me interested in that, and we were able to go to these garage sales, go to these thrift stores, and find gold jewelry, gold rings, gold earrings, gold necklaces, sterling silver flatware, sterling silver cups and things for literally, $5 or less. And a lot of times we would resell them, but we'd also hang on to them too, just for kind of like a savings account, essentially. We would have something that was worth $200 that we paid $5 for. It didn't matter if I sold it today or 10 years from now. We got into it so cheap that it wasn't eating anything.
I'm sure that throughout this journey, there were some challenges or some obstacles that you all had to deal with and overcome in order to accomplish your goal. Like I know you guys mentioned earlier about Veronica. You mentioned about you were living on half your income as a family, but you were still using credit cards on the side. So, how did you all get past that and be able to move forward?
Well, that I would like to explain myself. So a lot of that money came from, that was my last year of school, my last year of pharmacy school. And we had a lot of expenses coming up, like just to take my tests to get licensed. I mean, those tests are $500 a piece. Study guides are $500. So, I mean, I probably spent $1,500 just getting licensed that summer. And, you know, we went on a cruise to celebrate and everything. So the money that I racked up on the credit cards was in anticipation of, I know I'm getting a pay raise in like 3 months. I'll just pay it off then. So that was kind of the mindset. So we overcame that as soon as I became licensed, started making better money. Boom, we paid that off. First thing, one of the first things.
You've never actually seen a full paycheck.
Yeah, I've never actually seen a full paycheck. I don't even know what that looks like because of the way we put, I mean, what, 70%?
Well, I think we started at 50.
Yeah.
So before she got paid, half of her salary went to our savings account. And the savings account was set up so I had to sign and she had to sign. So we both had to be at the bank at the same time. So it would go to a savings account where we didn't have a checking, nothing attached, no cards. And we kind of made it inconvenient for us to get to this money. And if we really wanted to withdraw something, we both had to go. But another obstacle, I think, to overcome probably is just other people's viewpoints and other people's opinions. Not so much lately, you know, joining the online finance communities, there's so much support. There's so many people with the same mindset. And it's like, where are all you guys my whole life, you know? But definitely at people at work, some family, you know, they like to ask why, you know, because it's just out of the ordinary to do things like, you know, pay off your mortgage in 2-3 years, to pay off your student debt in 3 years, to, you know, buy a car in cash. Like, they wouldn't ask why if we were spending our money left and right. They would view that as normal. So that was one of the things to overcome, is just kind of other people's opinions.
And now a word from our sponsor, Policy Genius. Hey, Jennifer, surveys show that in households with children under the age of 18, there are over 11 million households with no life insurance coverage at all. How does Policy Genius look to help in these situations?
That is a great question. What we are trying to do is making the process of getting life insurance less stressful and less confusing than it is right now. So life insurance is very important coverage for families where there are, you know, young children in the home, because if one of the breadwinners were to die, the family might be in rough shape. So what we do is make it easy to get accurate quotes. You don't have to talk on the phone with somebody if you don't want to, but we do have licensed experts who will give great advice if you have any questions about life insurance. So, you know, life insurance is important. It's less expensive than people think, and we are excited to help families get the coverage that they need.
Wow, that sounds awesome. To find out more details and to make sure that your family gets the coverage that they need, head to hisandhermoney.com/policygenius. And now, back to the show. I know for a lot of people, they don't have trouble getting motivated, but the problem comes in being consistent and staying motivated over the long haul. So for you guys, what do you think were some of the important factors that allowed you all to maintain your motivation in order to be able to ultimately pay off all of your debts?
For me, it was we stopped watching TV. And I think that was really important because we weren't getting bombarded by advertisements. I wasn't getting, you know, I really stopped shopping at the mall a lot because we didn't have the money to spend. So I wasn't bombarded by, oh, I see this in the store and it looks awesome. And, you know, like shopping spree sort of temptation. So staying away from advertisements and basically temptation of retail was a really important key to maintain the course. Basically, if I don't see it, then I don't want it. It takes a lot of, I don't know, kind of strength to do that. And so we kind of just relied on each other because we didn't have a lot of other people to rely on, because everywhere we looked, the other people our age and even people we went to school with, they were all out buying stuff all the time, it seemed. And we just had to keep setting examples for each other and continuously reminding each other, it's okay to not spend money. It's okay to not buy new clothes. Our clothes look just fine. We don't need to go shopping. What do you think?
It makes you the odd man out, definitely, with friends. Sometimes, you know, if they're all out going here and then going to dinner here, okay, well, we'll just meet you for drinks afterwards. You know, we don't necessarily have to explain that whole situation of why, but we won't go out for the whole night maybe. Another thing I think that we had to overcome. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Is my job. I'm not particularly fond of my job or just working for someone else in general. I always kind of wanted to work for myself, and I think that's eventually where we're going to head. I don't know what it is just yet, but I think we're going to work for ourselves. But, I hate the idea of tomorrow I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and I have to get dressed and I have to go to a job that doesn't fulfill me, spiritually, doesn't fulfill me mentally, it doesn't make me feel good when I go there. So that's my driving factor. That's why I am determined to save as much as I can and to kind of pull the ripcord by 35.
Walk us through that moment when you made that last debt payment.
The last big debt was, I think we actually have it posted on our website, is I think $34,000 or something.
It was the biggest lump sum.
That was the biggest lump sum, yeah.
It was one of his student loans.
Yeah. I didn't want to see it because I think at that time most of our money was invested, because what we ended up doing, the way we did it was, instead of paying monthly payments or instead of paying a few $1,000s each month, I put all my student loans that I could in deferment, and we would invest the money, because at that time I think the stock market was starting to head back up. So I made a gamble that we could invest money and make more than what we were losing, and the interest that would have been accruing in my student loans. So we ended up making investments, making risky gambles, and kind of helping to accelerate the amount of money that we were putting away. But then there came a time when we had to withdraw $15,000 at a time, and we would pick one in the highest interest rate, and we would pay that off all at once, one check, and then we would go on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So it was definitely a lot less mentally taxing than having to write out 4 or 5 checks every month repeatedly and month after month. And the secret there is the whole time you don't feel broke. You don't actually feel poor, because you look at your savings account, you look at your investment account, and you might have $50,000, $60,000 in there. Even though you owe 80, you still feel like you have that money. And then just one day, you kind of like turn on a light switch, boom, you take out $15,000, you pay it off, and you never have to think about it again.
You feel in control.
You feel in control. I think that was a big part, is making sure that you're the one writing out the checks when you want to, not when the debt collectors want you to.
I'm curious as to what type of impact has this journey to debt freedom had on you guys' marriage?
Well, I think it definitely brought us closer. It made us a whole lot stronger with each other and even with ourselves mentally by resisting temptation of spending. And it definitely made us better communicators, because for a while there, we had to clear everything with each other. Like, is it okay if I spend money on this, spend money on this? We've loosened that up a little bit, but still, we're not afraid to talk about money. And I think a lot of couples are, and a lot of couples have fights over this. And, I've read somewhere it's probably one of the top few things that couples fight about. And we're so open about it, and we just talk about it on a daily basis that we don't really fight about it. I will argue about if I want a certain thing and he, maybe doesn't, but it's never in anger. What do you think?
Well, I think we both see that it's in our best interest, and that's the main thing, is we both have a common goal and we're heading towards it. And that's probably one thing that really strengthened our marriage, is we had a common goal. We had something that we could work together. She went to her job, I went to my job, but we had something that we could both focus on and work towards achieving. And because, not only are you husband and wife, but you're partners. She has to be my best partner and my wife and everything for me, really, on a daily basis. So she's my business partner. She's my wife. She's, all I have.
I think the garage sales brought us together,
that
too.
That did, too, yeah.
Gosh.
We'll do it.
When you go to garage sales, we have some of the funniest stories and memories, and it's a bonding experience. We have fun together, and we would have never started doing this if it weren't about money. The whole reason we started garage sales and estate sales and we picked up this whole hobby because of his obsession with money.
But I mean, you found through those designer clothing, designer jewelry, like...
Oh yeah, I found awesome stuff.
We've really been able to live kind of like first-class citizens on like a very low budget.
Yeah.
With the things that we find and buy. You know, we don't feel deprived. My office chair is a really nice leather office chair. Would have cost $200-$300 in the store. We bought it for $30 at an auction. You know, our desk is a designer desk with leather writing top, and I think we bought that for $250 at an auction, and that's a couple $1,000 desk. So things that we would not want to spend our hard-earned money on, we're willing to spend, you know, a fraction or maybe 10-20% of what the real value is.
Wow, I mean, that is simply incredible. What has been the biggest life lesson that you all have learned along this journey towards debt freedom?
I think, well, there's a few things. One is we've realized that everything that we need or that we think we need, somebody else has already bought it and they are probably willing to sell it to us. And we just have to find it. It's almost like a game. When we go out to these estate sales and garage sales, the stuff we find is just incredible some days. And sometimes it's just simple stuff that we need for our house. And sometimes, you know, instead of going to the garden store, I'll be able to get a rake for $1 and this and that. And, you know, that helps out. But sometimes even bigger stuff, it's there and it's just waiting for us to find it. I definitely learned that. And now because of that, I cannot shop retail. I go into retail stores and I just feel nauseous with the prices. I look at those and I'm like, man, I could make that $60 go 1,000 times farther at an estate sale than I could here buying this one item. So it kind of ruined us for shopping forever.
My life lesson is the things that we've found, it's kind of scary. We'll have thought about it a week before or 2 weeks before, or hey, we need this, and then boom, there it is. So I really believe in the power of attraction. You know, I didn't so much before. I even read the book and everything like that, and I didn't really believe it. But when you put something in the forefront of your mind and it kind of presents itself to you, it's one way or the other. So that's a life lesson that I've learned through this whole process is if you really want something, you just need to make it your intention and it will come to you. You'll find a way.
Andrew and Veronica, if there happened to be somebody listening to the show right now who heard your story and they're like totally blown away by it. I mean, $170,000 of debt destroyed in 3 years. They're like, wow, that's incredible. But at the same time, they feel like their situation is different and they don't have the ability to do what you all did and to follow in your footsteps and become debt free. What words of encouragement could you offer to that person right now?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who are in a lot of real tough positions, whether it's financially, whether it's with their marriage, whatever it is. And they might not be able to get a new job right at this very second. They might not be able to go back to school. But I think the one thing that everybody can do today, tomorrow, is you change your mindset. If, you know, you shut off the TV, you shut off the radio, you change your input and your output will change. So if you change your mindset to something not, you know, I'm never going to pay off this debt, or, wow, you know, this is really difficult to do. It's if you change it to, I'm going to do this. I don't know exactly how, but I'm going to. Your mind, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out a way to do it. So you have to just change your mindset to one of absolute positive thinking and reinforce that every day, because it's extremely hard to keep a positive mindset daily because our world is so very negative and there's a lot of negativity out there. But if you look around and that's all you see, then things are going to be really difficult for you. But if you focus on, you know, the little things you did, maybe you were able to be positive for an hour today. Well, that might have been better than yesterday. And you focus on that, and the next day you try to be positive for 2 hours. And you focus on your goal every single day that you wake up and you need to think, I'm going to pay off my debt today. I'm going to do this today. I'm going to save $10 today. I'm going to save $20. I'm going to, you know, stay after work an extra hour. I'm going to do something every single day, and things will happen for you. You'll start to talk to people, meet people that that you didn't before, because now you have the confidence and you have the drive and the goal that you didn't yesterday.
Please take a moment and tell our audience a little bit more about you all's website, secondhandmillionaires.com.
Well, we originally started it to teach others how to use garage sales and estate sales like we do to find good deals and make some money on the side, as a side hustle. But we've kind of morphed it into an all-encompassing personal finance website that covers basically everything we put into practice, because I feel like we have so much more to talk about than just, garage sales and estate sales. And what our finds are cool, but I mean, we've learned so much about investing, about frugal living, and the things that everybody loves, the life hacks. Everybody loves life hacks. And I feel like we've figured out some of them. And, motivation is so important. And, about reselling and minimalism. We've really kind of morphed ourselves into minimalists. Like, we didn't really mean to. It just kind of happened over time. And saving money, couponing. We've dabbled in extreme couponing here and there. And we've dabbled in credit card promotions, using credit card promotions to earn miles. We flew to Japan for free in first class as a result of that. We flew to Hawaii for free. We have a lot to talk about. So we kind of blend everything together. And it's all based on the garage sale flipping. We use our profits, we invest the profits, and then we do creative things to live a better life, basically.
I never knew what a good writer she was until she started writing, and she would rewrite an article that I wrote, and then it didn't even look like I wrote it. And I was like, wow, I'm a good writer.
I love it. You know what, Andrew and Veronica, we surely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, sharing the details of your story, your incredible story of paying off $170,000 in just 3 short years. Thanks so much for taking time to come on the show and speak with our audience today.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Wow, that was amazing. I mean, amazing. $170,000 in just 3 years. And who would have thought that the key to all of this was garage sales?
It's amazing, amazing. But one thing that I noticed was the amount of unity. You definitely heard teamwork.
Yeah.
You definitely saw they both were on the same page. And I mean, they were doing this together. They both were determined. They both made sacrifices. They both had to make choices and decide to get out of this debt.
If you're married, it's going to be imperative that you operate through this journey as a team. Because this journey is full of ups and downs, and you're going to need to lean on each other. And I think we heard that throughout this story. They worked together through the ups and the downs. They came to common ground. They set a common goal, and they have achieved it. And they are $170,000 of debt lighter because of it. I love that statement that they decided that they were going to buy their life back.
I love that.
That was such a game-changing statement.
And they realized that they were poor. I mean, did you notice how she said that? She said, wow, we realized that we were poor.
And so, guys, let this story be the motivation that you need to kick things into high gear and to do whatever it takes. Buy your life back.
Right.
Just like they decided to buy their life back, you can decide to buy yours back as well. Well, that does it for this episode of the His and Her Money Show.
Don't forget, visit us over at our website at hisandhermoney.com.
And while you're there, be sure to check out our free gift for you. We put together the 8 steps to get out of debt guide, and it's totally free. All you have to do is go to hisandhermoney.com/8 steps. That's hisandhermoney.com/8 steps. Here it is. No matter where you are on the road to financial freedom, the key is to start now
and finish strong.
Thanks for tuning in to the His and Her Money Show. For more information on how to win with your finances, be sure to visit www.hisandhermoney.com.